Hello, Khair Sedai. I am Zubair Torwali, Executive Director of Idara Barai Talim wa Taraqi, IBT, the organization which has been responsible for the Torwali Revitalization Program in the Swat Valley in Pakistan. From here onwards, I will refer to this organization as Team IBT or IBT in my presentation. I'm sorry I could not make it in person to present my paper in New Mexico, but I am glad that I have been given an opportunity to present a few slides and an overview of the paper I have written, which is on the Torwali Revitalization Program and the community ownership. It is an attempt to analyze how the team IBT has achieved this ownership of the Torwali community as well as of the dominant community in Swat and Pakistan. It is a quote by a student, a Torwali student who recently came to me and said proudly, "We now feel proud to say we are Torwali among the dominating Pashtun community. We are no longer ashamed of our identity and language before our fellows and teachers." Rahil Ahmad. He's a student at a college in Sadhu Sharif, the Pashtun-dominated main town of Swat. His quote is important because when we were at that college in late 90s, we could not say that we were Torwali and we had our own language, different language, because of the stigma and because of the shame we felt that time. Revitalization of an endangered language and community, the context. The impacts of colonization and new colonization, which is internal, on the minority languages and cultures are huge. Whether it is settler or the soft form of colonization, the first victims are always the ethnic minorities and their languages. Though not unique to this region, North Pakistan, where Torawali is such a colonized language, we see the impacts of pre-British and post-British colonization in the region even today. This has erased the identities, cultures, and languages of the ethnic minorities who were non-Muslim before 16th century. Over the time, these ethnic minorities have adopted not only the colonial image imposed upon them by the colonials, but they have also been pushed to the margins in terms of social, political, economic, and cultural development. Their languages and culture are deemed very low. They are held as people with no history and hence no identity and consequently no state recognition. They are always the others. It has been a visible social phenomenon and even psychological as well that the colonized over the time internalize the attitudes given by the colonizers and consequently see their languages, cultures, and social identities as of no value. The Torwali community, like its other sister communities in northern Pakistan, is such a dominated, historically brutalized, colonized, and marginalized community. In such a setting, it is very hard and difficult for the activists, researchers, writers, and leaders to get their work recognized by the very communities they have been working for. The Torwali language. The photo you see is of Bahrain and Swat. Of course, it is very beautiful. It is before this year floods, and the flood after the floods, the place is not like this one. Torwali is a Dardic language of Indo-Aryan family which is spoken by about 130,000 people based on the 2017 national census in Pakistan. It is spoken in the Chel and Bahrain valleys and the upper reaches of the Swat Valley in Pakistan. Salient features of the Torwali Revitalization Program. It is holistic and integrated. As a language does not exist in isolation, and its erosion or advancement is linked to the overall socioeconomic, cultural, political empowerment or disempowerment of a community. The team IBT realizes this and carries the main activities of the Torawali Revitalization Program, where it does not favor research without action. It is not limited to linguistics only, with the primary mission of Torwali community empowerment, having revitalization of the Torwali language and culture as the effective tools for this empowerment. The team endeavor for an overall integrated empowerment of the Torwali community and work in other sectors as well, whether infrastructure, poverty reduction, development of ecotourism, environmental protection, human rights, cultural rights, etc. This program is very community-based and community-centric. Community-centric in the sense that it is for the community and it is carried out in the community and it is carried out by the team, which is all Torwali people. The team IBT is composed of Torwali people, and whenever the team IBT carries any activity which is focused on the Torwali community and its empowerment. The third feature is its networking power partnership. So this program is well partnered with other similar organizations in North Pakistan, as well as organizations which work on education, languages, or social development in mainstream Pakistan. So this brings new networks and new partnerships for the project, for the program Torwali Language Revitalization Program. If we look at the implementation plan of the Torwali Language Revitalization Program, so in research, advocacy and documentation on language, folklore, history, education, culture, environment, human rights, formal education, and even humanitarian aid leads to projects, printing materials, educational institutions, school establishment, mother tongue school establishment, musical and cultural festivals, research articles, media, newspaper articles, literacy drives in the with the students of the government schools, seminars, celebration of the language day, the literacy day, and such other women day, fathers day, such other days, and use seminars and video blogs, video logs, and even uses of social media as output. So these lead us to the impacts where we see that the literacy of the Torwali language is increasing in the community. The interest and of the Torwali music and culture is increasing. Recognition of the work has been seen by the community, in the community, even by mainstream Pakistan and some international community as well. And we see that Torwali identity is strengthened and increasing among the new generation, the younger people, networking with the mountain communities and increasing prestige of the Torwali people and their culture and language among the dominant communities as well. Here is a quote by a few good academicians who wrote an article in the Ville in 2021 last year. They say the Torwali language revitalization and development program stands out as one of the prominent and large scale programs in Pakistan. Now, community ownership, how? So let's see how the Team IBT has achieved the community ownership and how it has been striving to achieve this ownership using different tools, activities, and we can say strategies. Through cultural and musical festivals and events. So, cultural and musical events are more engaging than workshops or lectures on the importance of language or linguistics. These are not technical but very participatory. Such events are symbolic as well, and they are also representative of self-identification as well. The Team IBT first held a 3-day Indigenous Culture Festival in 2011, soon after the devastating floods and worst militancy in Swat, and that culture festival was attended by 9,000 Torawali people. It was attended by musicians, singers, poets who had abandoned their art just 2 decades ago, and there were traditional games in this festival, and there were songs, and there were dialogues for peace, for pluralism, for ethnic harmony. And this festival was also attended by well-known scholars from mainstream Pakistan and by representatives of the communities from Gilgit-Baltistan, Chitral, and Kohistan. Another aspect or strategy this team has been using is enhancing the literacy and education of the Torwali among its people. So we all know that literacy brings prestige to an endangered language not only among its speakers but also among the dominant communities. When the dominant communities also see a book written in any language, so they see, oh, it's a language, not a dialect now. So I am talking in context of Pakistan. In Pakistan, mostly people think the minority languages as dialects, not in the linguistic sense, but maybe a political or social sense. So literacy is one of the most effective tools to transmit the language and culture to the next generation as well. IBT established its first mother tongue based or Torwali based multilingual education in 2008, and now there are 4 such schools in the entire Torwali community where children start their early education in their language, and later on English and Urdu are added to their pedagogy as additional resources. Along with this, these schools are used by the adult women because they attend the sessions, monthly sessions at these schools for enhancing, for learning Torwali literacy and reading and writing it, and also some gender issues or social issues related to women, because all the teachers at these schools are women, and women are very friendly with each other. So these schools are also these schools are also means of social interaction, particularly for women. The working on other social or political issues also help um, recog- in recognizing a language or a culture work among the communities, because you know that most of the endangered communities they have different critical problems related to their infrastructure, their formal education, their rights. IBT has also been very active in advocacy for formal education for girls and boys. It has also been mobilizing people on issues like community rights and larger larger developmental projects by the government. So one of the key areas which needs to be touched, because whenever there are governmental projects in areas where there are indigenous communities, so we need to ensure that the government provide employment opportunities to these communities and ensure their rights to the natural resources they have. And representing the community, the culture, the language with the dominant communities regionally, nationally, and even internationally. So one of our strategies is to uh, develop its prestige among the dominant communities, especially among the writers, the academic people, the teachers of the dominant communities, because this helps the target community for when outsiders validate the work you are doing. So it builds ownership more. So we have been very active in representing the Torwali language, the community, the identity among the dominant communities, and are very vocal and outspoken and speaking up for these cultures, the identities, the different socio-political problem of these communities. And we not only raise the voices for Torwali, specifically for Torwali, but also for other similar other marginalized communities as well. Reclaiming the identity. Identity is now one of the most hot topics discussed in the political, social, and cultural debates around the world. Decolonization also involves rejecting the identity given by the colonialist, while well aware of its danger, because identity has other dangers as well. IBT has been doing research on the history, culture, and heritage of the communities of northern Pakistan in search for the different identities and ethnic boundaries between these communities in order to ensure diversity, but at the same time to work for enhancing cultural and ethnic harmony among these communities. One of the most visible impacts of IBT work on the Torawali community is fostering of a Torawali identity among the people, especially youth. Before the work by IBT, the people would call themselves Kohistani, a lumping identity given to the mountain communities of northern Pakistan by the Pathans when they colonized these people in the 16th century. Such an identity is also seen in the term Kafirs or Kafiristan given to the non-Muslim populations of Hindu Kush when these areas came into the notice of the Muslim scholars. The identity debate among the Torwali community also fosters curiosity to know the history, culture, and awareness to save their language and culture, for these are the most important aspects of identification. And we have a rights-based approach to language work. So we see that language is associated with social justice and community well-being. So the linguistic and cultural rights are like basic human rights, and whenever there is some cut on these rights, so we raise our voices powerfully. We try to challenge those stereotypes or those oppressions by the dominant communities and by the state as well. And now I will give a few examples of the ownership. So you see Aftab Ahmad, he is a Torwali young guy. He wrote the Torwali English Urdu dictionary, and has been representing the Torwali language community and people in the mainstream Pakistan. Javed Iqbal Torwali is a musician, singer, and poet. Not a singer, sorry, musician and poet. So he now invites different people, young people, to his office and train them in music and also in poetry and Torwali poetry. Rahim Sabir is starting writing Torwali poetry, and now he is translating the English novels into Torwali, and he is a singer as well. So he encourages the Torwali young poets and singers. Mujahid Torawali is now doing his PhD in Torawali related studies, so he also represents the Torawali community and language on international and national fora. You see, Osman Torawali has started the Torawali News, a magazine, a web-based magazine for the. This is also a recognition of the Torawali language and culture. Malak Abrar Ahmad has also started the Torawali, a group, a media organization, and a social organization. Amir Nawaz has started vlogging on YouTube with the name of Young Torwalis, and Nisar Ahmad has started research on folklore, poetry, and history. He's the young guy. So these are just few examples of the community ownership we see. Otherwise, there are hundreds of people who are engaged in YouTube's pages, YouTube channels for Torwali music, for Torwali language, and also on Facebook pages, Facebook groups, and there are many people on WhatsApp groups who discuss Torwali poetry and who share Torwali poetry, Torwali music, and who also discuss the Torwali language and other social issues. Now let's see how the ownership, if we measure is roughly, so it would be like this one in the community. So it's now outside of the team IBT. So awareness about the language is very huge, very increasing, and it's widespread. Loyalty with their language is also widespread. Cultural participation is increasing and it is on a higher level. Identity is also in the middle and it is increasing. Literacy, we can say 19% of Torwali people can write and read their language, so it's a little bit low. Still, we have to go far away for this. Research by the community people and not by the team IBT is very low because it needs capacity, specific capacity to do research. And if we analyze the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats of the overall Torwali language revitalization program, so it would be this one. And the strengths, we see the credibility of the agency, the team IBT is increasing, awareness in the community about their language, their culture. So the holistic approach and integrated approach is also a strength. Opportunities, we can see growing interest of the people in their history, identity, and production of more poetry and cultural festivities are some of the great opportunities we have. Weaknesses, so this is common to all. Low resourced, we are limited to mostly to the heartland because of low resources. We could not go to the cities to every Torwali speaker, and of course there is no state patronage or recognition. So threats, growing threats of militancy in Swat again. clampdown on NGO by the security forces in Pakistan. It is a common phenomenon, and we are victims of it since we established our organization in 2007. Religious extremism is increasing in Pakistan, and there is also very many religious factions, so which may not like music or culture. Oh, thanks. So, I would be available for a few questions at the end. I thank you all. I hope you have got an idea of the Torawali Revitalization Program and the community ownership. Thank you.